Awesome.
Okay.
So without any further ado, I'll hand over to you, Mandy, and just let me know if there's anything you need.
Great. Thanks very much, Sam. Just before we start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land. I'm on the Wurundjeri land, and elders past, present and future, and any Aboriginal people in the audience. I'm Mandy Charman. I'm lucky enough to work at the Outcome Practice and Evidence Network, and I'm here with Dakhina Mitra. I'm here to provide a bit of an overview of Open. Some of you would be quite well aware of it because I know I've worked with some of you through the promotion of Sam with the network. So thank you very much. I've thoroughly enjoyed all the work on the youth projects. We're here today to give you a bit of a rundown about Open and also discuss how we might be able to support some of the evaluative or evidence creation activities that you're involved in your projects. I'll just give you a little bit of an introduction to myself and also to Dakhina. I've had a long career in supporting people to build evaluation capacity, to design programs, to measure them and to report on them, both in state government and now in the child and youth and family service sector. It's a passion of mine and I've experienced so much transformation, seen people transform their experience of their work and their ability to confidently represent it and measure it, which is just such an exciting place to sort of sit, to see people learn and capture and demonstrate their effectiveness. So I'll just open Dakhina. This is Dakhina Mitra, my colleague in the Open. I just wanted everyone to see both of our faces.
Thanks, Mandy, and thank you. Everyone can hear me? I'm using a different system today. Anyway, lovely to meet you all here. I'm Dakhina. I use she and her pronouns. I'm on the Wurundjeri land as well, and I pay my respects to the land owners. I'm the research and knowledge translation lead at Open, and I come from a background of international development, research, child rights, lots of participatory research with communities. Have worked internationally and in Australia for a few years now. And yes, loving the work at Open. I think one of the most enjoyable part of Open is that capacity building work that we do and getting everybody on board that research is not scary. It's just part of everything that we do and everyday life. So yeah, looking forward to this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dakhina. I'm just going to share my slides now. And I'm just going to walk you through a brief overview of Open and what we're doing. Everyone can see the slides? That's all right, Sam? Excellent.
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Great. Okay. Here we go. I'm just going to, some of this will be old news to you, but I thought just to ensure we've covered off our bases. Open was created to support the child, youth and family service sector to share, use and create evidence to support the best outcomes for our clients. For us, this can be any organisation which provides services to children, youth and families. So as you can imagine, that could be a huge range of different aspects of sector work. Open's funded by the department and provides a crucial link between sector, government and research partners, which is sort of seen as foundational to ensuring we support strong evidence. As you're aware, and I'm sure you're experiencing this as well, there's a growing pressure to use evidence to inform decisions, to advocate, and I understand that's one of your areas of interest, to continuously improve so that we constantly do better and learn from past experiences rather than repeat the practices that might not have worked that well, and to demonstrate the effectiveness of our programs, because of course that sort of funding hinges on that very often. But, and this is a big but, and I'm sure you relate to this, this can be challenging for organisations in the sector. Resources might be really tight. Workloads are already high, and capturing data can seem like sort of an optional extra under that the experience of that sort of pressure, which I totally get it. This is where open comes in. Open aim is to collaborate with others, to bring people together so we can help each other strengthen the use and creation of evidence. Now, as Dakhina just said so beautifully, much more succinctly than I could, evidence is everywhere. You're already working in an evidence space. Very commonly, people think of evidence as research, evaluation, the written document. But as you can see this slide, within the work we do, evidence is recognised to involve practice experience, client experience, which I know is really front and centre in the youth sort of sector, and research or evaluation, internal or external. So that would tend to be the more formal assessment of effectiveness. But you're making assessments all of the time, and you're judging all of the time, and you're drawing on evidence all of the time, even if it isn't something that is formally documented. So this is something you already know heaps about. It's just that perhaps you haven't thought about it in that way before. Open plays this role through translating and sharing research and free resources on our open portal to practitioners, policymakers, researchers and evaluators. So translating it for our busy audience, because no one has time to review lots of research articles. Acting as a kind of broker, encouraging mutually beneficial collaborations between researchers, practitioners and across the sector, hence the importance of your network to us. Assisting people to design and measure their work, collecting data to meet their needs, demonstrate outcomes, and improve how we work with clients to make an even bigger difference. I know this sector, I've worked in few different sectors. This sector is the most inspiring in terms of people's interest in making a difference and improving a difference. It's just, invigorating basically. And providing a platform for sharing and showcasing what works for children, young people and families. Okay, so Open is all about making things easier. Our sector is busy working with our state's most vulnerable children, young people and families. And Open's job is to locate new knowledge and make this knowledge accessible and available and promote what works, both from the voices of practitioners, what works according to clients, and demonstrating that through formalised processes such as research and evaluation. We use 3 interdependent avenues to do this. We use our online mechanisms, as I've just mentioned, trying to make information, research evaluation, lived experience more accessible, easier to access when it's needed. We have an email newsletter. The Research Review is a monthly review of all the latest research in bite-sized chunks. And we use the Open Portal to develop and share case studies. And increasingly we've developed a whole heap of evaluative related resources on how-tos. How would you get going with this? They're almost finished, so they'll be put up very shortly. We do face-to-face human interaction often through events and networks such as this. Of course, we've had to go online, which has opened up some new possibilities for us actually. Because of course, face-to-face is really important and building relationships is really important. And we provide technical support. It's all about providing hands-on assistance, supporting people with gaps in skills. So we're going to talk a bit more about that in a moment. But before we do, I did want to take this great opportunity to provide a plug for our Open Symposium, which Sam, I think, has distributed to you. And I'm just wanting to tell you that we've got this great program and please come along. We have a whole range of youth presentations, actually. I think there's 6 or 7 across the 3 days. So there's plenty of offering. Some of you are probably already speaking, I would imagine, and a number of different keynote speakers from a whole variety of different sort of angles. I particularly thought you'd probably be aware of, I said Liz Tamarick, Liz Weaver from the Tamarick Institute, who is really big on collective practice and participatory models of engagement. I thought you guys would be really interested in that. Anyway, I think Dakhina will probably put up the link to see the website if you were interested. I couldn't let this opportunity go past without spruiking it up, Sam. Okay, just the last couple of slides. Look, I wanted to give you something a little bit more tangible. It's all right to hear promotional information, but I wanted to leave you with something to think about. So this is a little bit more about our support work. Of course, there's lots of interest, but organisations, and as I said, in this sector, and is absolutely passionate about demonstrating the difference you've made and making the most difference you can. There's lots of interest in building capability in this area, particularly without huge cost or huge burden on staff. People get really excited about making that difference for clients and embedding it into their practice. So the idea that you could do this yourself is very exciting. And so we've started to use the term everyday evaluation, which isn't our term. It's a Wanda Wordsworth's term. I just have to say that. But it is routine business as usual type of stuff. So we do lots of this work. We've worked with about 50 organisations in the last 2 years across a whole range of different things in supporting their design and measurement of their outcomes. And we've done this through training sessions, one-off advice, or project support and collaboration. And because of Sam's great promotion, this has also involved some of you. So I feel very privileged around that. Our approach is to start from where people are at and choose their best approach to meet their needs. We're not purists in any way. There's no point creating this huge burden and trying to tie up your time doing things that might not be of value to you. We're about improvement, not perfection. That's what you're aiming for here. We try and use simple tools that are effective and that you understand and can use yourself without us being around. We support learning through doing. The best learning occurs through action. Therefore, we might provide the technical support and the tools, and then we support organisations to do this themselves, not us do it for them. Of course, the old adage, teach a woman to fish, we had to have women in there, seeing lots of women in the sector. And you leave them with a legacy for life. And our fundamental orientation is that evaluation is a process, not a one-off event. And that people can dip into this process at different points in an iterative way. Often it is a process that is best started as early as possible. So often people think of it as at the end. In actual fact, it's very difficult to do good evaluation or evidence creation if you leave it to the end. It doesn't work very well. And one last slide. I just wanted to share with you, I did balloons this time rather than cycle. I had lots of fun with my colourful balloons yesterday. I wanted to provide a bit of an insight into what we've learned through working with all these organisations. And what are the 5 things that I've seen make the most difference to people in a way that doesn't create a lot of burden? And these would be my 5 things. So I'm going to work around my balloon, starting with green. Define success with a logic model. I know a lot of you guys are right on this. This is a collaborative, best done through a collaborative process involving team and stakeholder engagement. Participatory youth evaluation would use this as a key linchpin, because who gets to design the goalposts? Who gets to define success? Participatory process would have it, this has to be owned by your participants. And this in itself, this would probably be the biggest ticket item for changing people's relationship to measurement. It also creates clarity of purpose and a shared common agreement so that everyone's pulling in the right direction. Liz Weaver at the Symposium will talk a lot about this, because collective impact and understanding impact really hinges on how you define your goalposts. Second, use a logic module to develop an evaluation or measurement plan to measure what matters. We do a lot of business and we measure lots of things because they're sort of convenient and obvious. There's no good doing that if it doesn't answer your questions. So often what people find really find easy is to think about what would be the questions you need to answer. And in most cases, your key questions you want to know from your measurement will be, what do we do? How well do we do it? And what difference did we make? Mostly that's what evaluation as work is about. If you can just keep those questions in your mind, it makes something that seems very inaccessible much more accessible. That's what I've found. And then the information you collect is collected to answer those questions. What information would you need to answer those questions? And all of a sudden, it doesn't seem so researchy anymore. Third, collect data through delivery, through your routine practice. It doesn't have to be complicated. Develop easy data tools to ensure you collect data as you go. You can't wait until the end of the program. Simple data for the types of programs a lot of us are running, simple data that's perfectly sufficient could be your output data, participation numbers, whether they were satisfied, what you delivered, interviews, focus groups, reflective journals. If you were to do just them and do it systematically, that would be enough evidence. Now remember, information becomes data or evidence when it's collected systematically. And it's really the system, not the sophistication of the information you're collecting. So you can collect this yourself. What's my third one? Review data as a team, reflect and improve as you go. We don't wait to the end. You don't have to document your reflections. You just have to look at your data and see what does it tell us? Is this working the way we thought it was? How can we improve? Often people can set this up every 2 months in a team meeting to reflect, and it keeps the purpose current in your mind, and you can make adjustments. That's a really good risk management strategy. And identify critical friends. You're not in it on your own. Most organisations will have some people that have some of these skills already, even if they're not in a role where it's their role. Had lots of success trying to help people identify people that can be critical friends that you could check in with and seek advice from. And that might be internal to your organisation. It might be in a network such as this, which I think this is exactly the purpose and joy of these types of networks. Or it might be online resources. There's lots of online resources. We have a lot on our portal. And of course, when we have our own resources, we'll be putting them up writ large because that will express the same orientation. Or contact us. We're always at the end of a phone call to go, oh no, what about doing this? You could do it this way. Anyway, that was my 5 takeaways, just because I wanted to leave you with some food for thought. You can see where I'm going with this critical friend one though, because that's what we're here. Sam and I and Dakhina have been talking about this for the last year, about the potential of maybe trying to get in to try and provide support for your next step on the journey. Because I know the network has had sort of training before, you've been doing various aspects of this before, and trying to go, okay, what would it take just to get that next step of confidence, that next step of ease? And that's what we're interested in exploring a bit more with you through this discussion. That's it. I'm going to unshare this. Unshare this. There we go. Now.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Mandy. There's so much to take away there. Even just talking on a simple level is just such a great reminder of the basics and the approach to take. The bit about having critical friends and not looking for perfection, looking for improvement, it overlaps so closely with the way that we approach just youth participation, regardless of the evaluation bit. So much of this is about culture change, I think, and evaluation fits in there often. It is about a mindset as opposed to, there's no one size fits all. This is about working out what works for you. So yeah, a lot of food for thought there. I'm conscious that you need to get away relatively soon. So I thought I might just open it up to a Q&A for a few minutes. If anybody's got any questions for Mandy and Dakhina, for the open team, please pop your hand up or turn your mic on and speak. Or you're welcome to use the chat box if that's easier.
While we wait for someone to speak, I just wanted to jump in one little thing. So again, as Mandy said, that Open is a network where we share information about the sector, and it is a sector-led network. So we really look forward to programs and innovative work that everybody's doing, and we do a sort of a case study on them, and we share it on the platform, and then that goes out to our network, our entire sector's network. So if anybody wants to share their programs, how it's working, please get in touch with us. And I'll just put the link of our current case studies. Have a look and see. I mean, they're just meant to inform the other sector members that how is a program run for someone in a particular context. So these are what works for whom and why, that kind of a case study. So have a look. And if anybody has something to share, just reach out to us. Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. That's a great addition. And yeah, people are saying how useful. And I found the website really useful as well. There's so much information on there. It's like a treasure trove. Well worth spending some time exploring that. And yeah, Bo from CMY is asking how to get in touch. Is the info on the website, or are the best reaching out to you directly?
Reaching out to us directly. Yep, there we go. Or the website, we have another connection as well. Email's often the best, and then we respond to that. So we can take any queries you might have about your individual sort of work. And thank you, Dakhina, so much for reminding us about that. We're in the process of restructuring our website actually, and we're going to have thematic topic pages. And of course, we're really interested in the youth participation space, because in many ways you're leading the way in well, I mean, you already know that, in trialling really innovative models of collaborating and co-designing. I know co-design is thrown around very liberally, but I think that you're the sector that is closest to actually realising the true aspiration of that. And one of those things about the case studies is we're trying to collect them about common themes and then package them together so they act as a suite of knowledge about an area. And that was one of the ideas we did have in conversation with Sam about potentially doing a component of work that actually profiles diverse approaches to, say, in this case, youth participation. And I mean, obviously, we're not the experts. I mean, you're the experts on this, but we have this vehicle that perhaps we could co-author or co-design something, which then, I mean, could be jointly sort of shared across our networks. Increased profile and awareness, and yeah, so there's so many different mechanisms of building people's understanding, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one of the things we're going to do next, Mandy, they'll go into breakout groups and people have the chance to discuss some of those questions that you proposed to me. And I've also turned that into a Mentimeter questionnaire so that we can capture a bit of the data. And one of the questions in the Mentimeter is, how do you think the YPPN and Open could collaborate to support you better in this space? And so I think case studies is a really good example, because youth workers are not very good at singing their praises. We kind of go under the radar, sometimes for good reason, because we're often trying to do stuff that people have an issue with. And so we're going under the radar in order to do what we know is right and what's needed. But that doesn't stand up when we're looking to kind of do better or to share best practice or to really celebrate what we're good at. And so I think case studies is a really good example of how that would be a relatively simple way to highlight some of the great things that are happening across the sector. And as you say, there are people on this call who are creating spaces for young people to deliver their own, activities, their own advocacy, their own change making across their environments and their communities. And yeah, that, leading the way in much of this work. But as I say, it's often going on under the radar.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, awesome. Has anybody got any final questions before we say goodbye to Mandy and Dakhina?
Sometimes it can be hard to take it in, I reckon, on the
yeah.
This
Absolutely.
is the start of a conversation though as well. So love to come back, love to hear the results of the discussion and to try and tailor something that can contribute, I suppose. That's all we want to do.